I'm a senior editor at Bike Magazine. We're at the Kingdom Tap Room in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. And today we're checking out James's Defcon 1. There are 3 bikes in James's sort of Enduro all mountain line. This is top of the line model. It sells for $4,900. The bike comes with a pretty impressive parts kit. Box 36 fork, box float X rear shock, XT1 by drivetrain. On paper, the geometry is pretty similar to some of the other bikes we've tested and liked. So what do you guys think of the bike?
So let's say most of the riding that you do is more trail-oriented riding, or maybe even XC-oriented riding, and you have your 4.5, 5-inch bike, and you want kind of a little more gravity-oriented bike, but you don't want that gravity-oriented bike to be a 35-pound thing that you buy from Bikes Direct. Like, you want something that's a little more refined with better parts, and really has, honestly, relatively modern geometry. I mean, this would be a really excellent supplemental bike to have if you want something a little more gravity oriented. But
I had some problems with this bike. I'll be that guy. I'll start it. Here we go. I'll just polish my glasses and try not to talk about it. No. So this bike uses a walking beam suspension, basically a single pivot suspension. There's a bottom bracket, pivot, rear axle, link goes up for your seat stay, pushes a rocker, compresses a shock. This is the kind of suspension that has been, I think we trace it back to sometime in the late 90s.
Yeah, early 2000s. Kind of like the old Konas.
Compared to almost every other bike we've had here, it's outgunned. Yeah, you can flip a damper switch and try to get some more compression damping in there and make it behave a little bit when you're going uphill. But basically, it bobs like crazy. And it doesn't really act super fantastic when you're pedaling up over rough stuff. And we're getting pretty used to, if not solid rear triangles with a couple short super stout links, rear triangles that have really, really burly pivots in them that are also pushing pretty heavily engineered links these days, and this did not have that. And I really grappled with what the hell was going on whenever I leaned it into a corner or pointed it down something that had anything that would side load the rear wheel.
You guys, what did you feel out there?
The frame does feel a little wandery when you get it going fast down hills. I didn't notice the flex, so to speak, on the climbs too much, but yeah, on the descents you can feel it. But as far as suspension feel was concerned, going downhill, when I could get into a berm that had some traction in these kind of treacherous conditions we were riding the bike in, I didn't feel like it was doing anything in the suspension action that was funky or weird.
I started out by talking about it being an outdated design. It wasn't about the sophistication of the suspension, but it was more about the integrity of the whole rear end. And to me, I had trouble with it when it felt like, in terms of the way the wheels were following each other, which isn't really about bump absorption, but it is about wiggliness. And I have a pet peeve with that kind of lateral flex, more than most people might.
Well, what does this bike do well?
I mean, it's an all-mountain bike. It definitely goes downhill better than it goes uphill.
It does represent, for the parts that it has, a really good value for money. In sheer component pick-a-up, got a 36 on it, great rear shock. You've got Saint brakes.
Yes, absolutely.
XT drivetrain.
Yep.
And it was the only bike in the test that actually spec'd the XT crank,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which I liked.
This is a bike that represents really good value for money at component spec, that someone maybe aspires to have those components. They want to have better parts than they had on their last bike. They want to step up from a $2,000 bike to this, and it's got parts that at this price point are really enviable. Not envy, but enviable.
You guys agree?
Yeah, I think that's a good description for sure.
So if you want to know more about James's Defcon 1 or any of the other bikes that we've tested this year, go to our Bible Bike Test issue. If you want to see more bike test videos, go to bikemag.com.